There's so much to talk to you about because there's so many things happening. We'll talk about your possible ambition probably later. But the hottest news right now is what happened with Sunday Igboho. In your view, what do you think Sunday Igboho stands for? And do you think it was right for the federal government to send the DSS to invade his residence yesterday?
Well, first, I'm not a politician, so let's get that straight. So what I tell you is basically what I think and
yeah, personal
as I see
opinion.
it. Now, I think because of the vacuum in leadership, some things have gone out of hand. And when it goes out of hand, you end up with a scenario of last night. And I will start with Kanu, for example. You lock the guy up for 3 years. Didn't take him to court, nothing. You turn him into a hero. The guy, what he did was pure treason. Treat it as such and deal with it as such.
So, you know, when we tell his story, for me, I find that there's sort of like a good ending with his recognition, the recognition of June 12th, you know, the posthumous recognition, and the fact that we now have a Democracy Day that will forever be related to him and his name. How does that make you feel?
It's a mixed bag for me. With what he had done and the impact he had made on lives, you would never have thought that it'll take forever to recognize his achievements. It took us 22 years or so just to get the GCFR. Why? It's a no-brainer. I thought it would be a no-brainer. This is a man that had titles in 120 different communities in Nigeria. Never won national honor. Never. Never won. And the one national honor that he has earned, and Nigerians as a whole have said thank you to him for whatever he had done in the past, took us 21, 22 years to get. It goes to show you that everything about him is politics. Everything about him, including his birth, is complex. And it's just the man. It's just what he's all about.
Did you ever hold a grudge against former Governor Olusegun Obasanjo for never recognizing your father? President, sorry. For never officially recognizing your father. I mean, because we hoped that he would do it, but he never did. And it took even the governor in the Lagos State at some point to have a whole statue of him. How did that make you feel? Did you hold any grudge against him, or you just said, hey, that was it?
No grudges. If you had done otherwise, I would have been highly impressed. But if you didn't, I'm not surprised. They have a history, and a history from from school, and so on. And for me, that's not my business. That's their business. I'm the next generation after that.
At the time the elections were annulled, I wonder how young you would have been and whether you understood it enough to object to it at the time. How did you feel during that annulment, knowing that he was alive and his right was taken?
The best way to answer that question is the fact that I made that election happen. I was part and parcel of the strategy, the execution. All the jingles you see today had something to do with me. The strategy, the execution, and any party member alive today knows the role my little Kola then, at what, 28, 29, played to make that day happen. So obviously I would be disappointed. I created, with a group, the most perfect election in Nigeria to date. And to have that whole hope of change, and then have it all just annulled in one night. For a young person, it's a huge setback. I was given a task by my father. I think I executed it the best possible. We saw the results of that. And then to have that whole energy fizzle out by one national announcement, that's one. Two, what happened post is another thing entirely.
What has been, as the head, you're obviously the oldest, I mean, have you been able to seal everybody together as a family, one? And there have been questions about the legacy MKO left behind. He had numerous companies, and people are saying, what happened to this big legacy that we all grew up, you know, to want to be like. So what happened? What are you doing as a leader, holding first the family together, and then his legacies, the industries that he built? How have you been able to hold that together?
When you go up against government, you need to be in that shoe to understand. Number one. Number two, we talk about Abiola Farms, we talk about Concord Press, those are not, those companies collectively were not the, how do you put it? They didn't lay the golden egg. There was something else laying that golden egg that kept those things running. Those are things that you build over time. And when I came home in 84, 85, it was a mess. I was the one building them and putting them right. And then politics came, and then everything went nosedive. And then you had to go against the system. Now, with time, you have to learn that if they try to chop off your knees, do you have to always provide the other bit of your leg for them to chop off? I help build these things. Wouldn't I want to see them survive? But when you have a government shut you down, even the state government of the day, political state government of the day, in its own definition of wanting to help Concord, felt they should buy their generators to give them money to help Concord. I wonder what they will do and how they will run the place if there are no generators. Is that a way to help? And that's supposed to be a friendly government, okay? Or a government that is a civilian that takes away my concession. We know the Abacha thing is very clear-cut. But when you have a civilian government that also comes in and takes away your own concession, you would have thought, okay, yes. So it didn't just end with the Abacha regime. It continued.
Even in civilian.
Even in civilian. And you see, I am the head of a family, and there's so many things I just cannot say.
Yeah.
So no matter how hard they put their hands in my mouth, my responsibility is first with the family.